this is KiXSTAr, and today we are going to do a little bit of an overlook and first part in my sniping tutorial. Now, just to start off, I am only going to be reviewing bolt-action rifles. I will not be going over any of the semi-automatic, any of the fully automatic, just bolt-action sniper rifles. So let's just start at the beginning, obviously the most powerful, the Miller. So the Miller is a wonderful gun. It has the highest damage, the highest rate of fire, it's got a very good minimal damage, it's got the highest round capacity, it has a free ungimping sniper that doesn't hurt your damage or anything, and it's fast with all the scopes in the game. My personal opinion on this sniper is that it is so freaking easy that you will not get any better when you use it. It's just boring. Honestly, I would not advise using it. That's just me. Let's move on to something that I have that not many people do, the TWM Winter Camo. Now I'm just going over this because it's in my inventory and I want to go over all the bolt actions for the sake of going over the bolt actions. Now, TWM Winter Camo has average damage, a high rate of fire, average minimal damage, good rounds in the mag, and can use the silencer, but will often not one-hit kill. It's fast with all scopes. In my opinion, since you can't really obtain it, it doesn't really matter, but it's a viable rifle. It's like what the TWM used to be before it got nerfed. So let's move on to the AR-98B. Now the AR-98B has the highest damage, much like the Miller. It's got a pretty average rate of fire, but you know, a good one. Very good minimal damage, very good. And it's got 10 rounds in the magazine, which is the highest. It can use a silencer, and it will one-hit most of the time. And it's got a reasonable speed of scope with most scopes, but you really want the 5x scope if you want perfect speed with this thing. It is a good sniper rifle. It's a very viable option. It will almost always one-shot kill. It kind of is up there in the list. Personally, it lost a little bit of love from me after they nerfed it, adding a little bit of recoil, because I used to praise it for having almost no recoil. But that's just a little personal issue I have with it. It's a very good gun. So let's move on to my personal favorite, the M217. Now the M217 has a very good damage, average rate of fire, but pretty good. Very well. It's a good rate of fire, a good minimal damage, and a good round capacity. It's got no silencer, and it never will. You just can't put one on there, and so that's pretty bad for some people. It's got a built-in bipod, which is basically equivalent to, I think, the ultra rare bipod, and if you do not have the 5x scope on this, everything else you can put on it is exceedingly slow. So it's 5x scope or bust for most people, but here's why this is my personal favorite sniper rifle. I really truly enjoy practicing with this, the M217 and a 4x scope. Now a lot of people are going to be like, well, why would you do that? It forces you to line up your sight using an M217, line up your shot, sorry, using an M217 and a 4x scope. This is how I became a good sniper. There's a lot of tips and things I could give you, and I will make a whole, you know, thing on maybe about this, but really, if you want to be a good sniper, take an M217, go into a free-for-all, use a 4x scope, force yourself to do this, and just play. You'll notice you'll start lining up your shots more. You'll start being more accurate. This is how I got good at the game, guys. Alright, it's, in my opinion, yeah, it's my favorite. It's what I learned to use to snipe. You will get better if you use the 4x scope on this, especially in free-for-all. Alright, so let's move on to the TWM. So the TWM has a very low damage, an average rate of fire, a pretty good min damage, you know, average really, and a low mag capacity. It can use a silencer, but it will very often not one-hit kill. It can't use all the equipment. It is limited. It cannot use the ultra rare sniper or bipod, and cannot use the suppressor as far as I can remember. So really not a viable option anymore. About a year ago, it used to be a competitor with the M217 for a bolt action, you know, being one of the better ones, but no longer, really. It's honestly complete shit. I wouldn't use it ever. It's got such a low damage that, you know, 300 damage, it's I think the lowest. Anyway, but it is fast with all scopes, so there's that. Let's move on to the Everest. The Everest has a pretty average damage, a bad rate of fire, good minimal damage, average rounds, and it can use a silencer, but it will often not one-hit kill. It's fast with all scopes, and personally I don't really like it. A lot of people do. I'm not a fan. That's just me. I wouldn't advise it. And I used it for, this was my first bolt action I ever used, way back when it was a rare, and it's just what people used. Now it's an ultra rare. So a little different, but whatever. Let's move on to the BMPSNR. Now the BMPSNR has very good damage. Terrible, actually the worst rate of fire. It's got the best minimal damage, not that that matters too much, and it's got a pretty average round capacity. So it's fast with every scope, and when I say fast, I mean really fast. And it can use a silencer, I think. Yeah, it can use a silencer, right? Yeah, it can use a silencer. Personally, I don't think it's very viable, but it's one of those guns that has its little niche lovers. It forces you not to miss with its rate of fire. So at least there's that. You'll find yourself lining up shots, I think, more, but you're not as much with the M217 with a 4x scope. That pause in between the scoping is just so important to that whole factor. So, to review, to go back over the snipers, I would say the Miller's definitely the best, and it has been for a long time. Best bolt-action sniper rifle. I know there's that new sniper that came out, but that's a semi-automatic, and it really doesn't count. So it's definitely the bolt action, definitely the best bolt action sniper rifle. I would say it's really, really boring and not very, I wouldn't use it. My personal favorite is the M217. You will learn a lot using this in the 4x scope. It will force you to aim up your shots. You will lose a lot of engagements, but you will gain so much knowledge. Now remember guys, defeat is the mother to victory, so you really have to keep that in mind when you're doing this sort of stuff. The Everest is kind of meh. The TWM is just completely not viable at all. What else? The AR-98B is pretty good. And the BMPSNR, no TWM Winter Camo, well, you can't really get it. So that's pretty much it. That sums up the bolts for me. There might be some other bolt I missed, but I hope not. If you want an exact statistic sheet where you can cross-reference the stats, I'll link that in the description, courtesy of Grey Phoenix. That's pretty much it, guys. I hope you find out which sniper works for you. I might make another part to this sniper tutorial thing that everyone's been asking for, but there's really not much more to say. I will give some tips and tricks, but it'll be a short video. Anyway, see you next time.